Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello. This is going to be a good one. Good to see our friends out there trickling in. Hey, Crystal.
oh, nice jacket, Seth. Still cold down there? It's cold enough to wear
It
jackets?
was spring for a week and then it's winter again, kind
Yeah,
of.
we actually have some weird stuff going on over here too. Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
know
I
what
think
to
it's
wear
going to
ever.
rain for the whole next week. Yeah, it was very warm for a couple of days. Now it's cold again. Hey, Julie, Carly, Carl in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. Carl, we're going to be in
Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh actually. Many. I'm not in Pittsburgh. In somewhere in Pennsylvania. All
We're gonna.
the
Is it Pittsburgh? No, we're gonna be in.
no, it's not Pittsburgh. You're coming too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be there. End of May. Yeah.
Chris, you're not coming?
I will not be able to
Okay,
make it this
so
time.
that's not good. Many
Yeah.
of the students who are studying with our teacher, Rav Lightman, so we have students all over the country. We're going to be getting together in Pennsylvania in May. We'll be watching some lessons from Israel, and we'll be doing local activities. So, Carl, we will be in your neighborhood. And
Lucky for
hello,
Carl.
Rita in Virginia. Yeah. Oh, Crystal, I didn't know you were in Australia. All right. Hello, everybody.
And she's always here
Good
on
to see
time.
you.
She's
Yeah. It's probably, I don't know what this is, 2 a.m. over there. I don't know. It's probably like, I don't know. Crystal, what time is it in Australia? Guys, the show today, Navigating Truth Beyond Binary Thinking, been on my mind a lot. We even started getting into things last week. I think we mentioned the difference between, uh, for example, Newtonian physics, where everything is predictable, and quantum physics. And if you just use one of those, life as an earthling makes no sense at
Hmm.
all. But if you don't use both of those, then you don't really know where you are, what's going on, even though the rules are totally different. So behind that story, we're going to talk about this reality where you have two things that are really important and are parts of nature. And what we see is how people in the world gravitate towards one or the other and call the guy on the other side an enemy. But in the
right.
wisdom of Kabbalah, we are three students of the wisdom of Kabbalah. And in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we have this magical thing called the middle line. And the Kabbalist deals with the left and deals with the right. And then also, he then builds a third line, which is something unique to the wisdom of Kabbalah. And we're going to get into that.
And I want
But
to
before
say,
we,
just to add a word about that. I mean, one of
yeah,
the, I mean, that being the method that you are being taught how to find these contrasts and conflicts within you, the middle, essentially the left and right line at the end of the day. That's what it's called spiritually. And like you said, build this sort of middle line between them as a like as a natural outcome of that, we see that the people who come to the wisdom of Kabbalah can be from any kind of walks of life, political views, even. We do have, it's okay. It's a little tangent, but I mean, like there are times when you feel like the wisdom of Kabbalah supports this or the wisdom of Kabbalah supports that, and it's not always the same side. There are times when you feel that way, but if you're a real student who's practicing the wisdom internally and studying it on a regular basis, you learn to be in those states where sometimes you feel opposite, sometimes you feel in line with, and and the reality is that we are a global community who have that is very, very multifaceted and varied, and we actually do have people that come from all the different religions, ethnicities, and walks of lives, and cultures, and states of minds, and political views even. And I think that's very unique and worthwhile mentioning, because I don't think that this is becoming so rare in today's, echo chambered society. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's barely any contact or real collaboration and discussion and communication between people of opposite views. And this is very unique. This is a very unique community of Kabbalah students that exists in this world right now globally. So yeah.
If
Anyway,
if Seth already
yeah.
talked about the middle line, then if someone's already if hearing that for the first time, it probably just sounds like it's some kind of balance somehow. It means some kind of balance somehow, some kind of internal. Either it's a balance in thinking, a balance in and I have two opposites, and where's the middle? So you're already kind of preparing the ground for understanding a little bit how that balance occurs, where it occurs. It is very interesting in our community that it's just
I
like
hope
that.
we'll get a chance to feel what that means, because um, we're not, normally we would think of compromise as, uh, we went to your chicken place twice and I wanted burgers, so we did that twice. So, we each kind of compromise what we want. But the middle line is not built of compromise where each one um, where each one gets diminished. In fact, somehow both of them have to keep growing. This is actually behind the whole Passover, the story of a Passover, which we're entering. Um, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Crystal
Yeah.
James says it's 4 a.m. in Australia. Crystal,
Wow.
I'm so happy you're
Wow.
here. But why are you waking up at 4 o'clock just for the show every week? That's pretty impressive. Cannibal, hello,
Whoa.
Cannibal in France. Yeah. And who is awareness? I don't know if we know awareness. Do you guys know awareness?
Well,
Awareness is asking a question. Oh, is the middle path a portal?
ooh, let's.
Is the middle path a portal?
You want to get into it now? Because
Yes.
that's actually, I think that's a great question.
That's a cool.
I'd
That's a
like
cool way of depicting it.
I really like the calling it a portal, because it actually it emphasizes actually how the middle line. I mean, Chris talked about balance. Balance is really just a very very earthly way of thinking about it. We're talking about something that is balanced but on a higher level. It's like how there's this concept of unity of opposites, right? Like in basically everywhere in the world, you see opposites that, thanks to the contrasts, they create a harmony, a system, a dynamic that is greater than both of them. It's 1 + 1 = 3. It's synergy. It's something that has an added value that is above each of the sides. And when we're talking about the middle line, we're talking about how essentially the Kabbalist learns how to take the nature of the created being and the nature of the creator that he becomes similar to, and combine them in such a way that you have a created being that is similar to the creator, and or in other words, a quality within you that is similar to that of the upper force, but it is not it doesn't dissolve and disappear into the upper force.
Let's break it down.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah, the
break it
Really?
question is
down.
Yeah, you
why does
want
it
to
have
go
to
there?
be that
Okay.
way? That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Let's
That
break
brings
it
up that
down
question.
because all spiritual methods, you want to reach that light, you want to reach that bliss, you want to reach that nirvana. So what happens in the wisdom of Kabbalah is you get introduced these fundamentals at the beginning about creation. So creation is we learn is opposite of the creator, meaning that the creator is all giving. So there's these two opposite forces, like in electricity. Creator would be like all giving, creation would be all receiving.
Hmm.
So now you want to get to some middle. So the middle of what? Like you can't just become God, because then what happens with all of the creation? And you can't just be creation, because then what's the purpose of making it all if it's disconnected from the purpose of it all, which is connected to the
Yeah.
creator who created it?
Okay.
So the middle then is, yeah, you like, it's like a portal. It's like a torus shape, like the two things somehow marry into each other. Like if you've seen like this spherot, you have like all these forces on the left and all these forces on the right. And then there's this middle thing that's born through not canceling them, but some other, actually, it's not easy to explain.
Yeah, the
No,
We could
words
no, it
use
are,
is not. It's
are
Kabbalistic
is
not.
difficult.
terminology.
Words are difficult to make. We have examples. Maybe we'll get to
Yeah,
throughout the show. We'll probably open it up.
I mean, any light bulb, right, that has a filament in there. So, I mean, it
Choice Times
basically,
just wrote the middle is the filament. Yeah,
okay,
nice.
Nice.
right. So that could be an example. So, I mean, essentially, you have plus and minus, and that allows for like the flow of of electrons. Let's say, this is a very not specifically, an electrician would explain this better, but conceptually, so you
Are
have two
electrons actually
opposites.
moving? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but so essentially you have a certain kind of flow, but there's something in the middle there that becomes illuminated, right? That sort of absorbs the tension between the minus and the plus, and begets a new creation, a new level of consciousness, a new understanding that can only come from opposites. So you can't cancel. The bottom line is you cannot cancel any one line. And what we see in our world is that people are very much pushed to subscribe to a camp, belong to a group. This is my in group, this is my out group. I am on the left, I am on the right. I support this. I hate that. This is my candidate. This is my, not just in politics, it's just super, super clear and obvious, but it's not just there.
Well,
It's everywhere.
it's not only
And
only that. It's not that I'm just drawn to whatever it is that I feel that I connect with. There's no there's not even a small thought that comes in and tells a person maybe I should do something with that other side. What is it? If I'm on the left and I there's something on the right, then I'm rejected. I'm repulsed. And there's no going to examine or feel what that is. There's not even you're not even coming close to even working with that.
No,
What I
because I
kind of
feel right on
material.
whatever side I am. I
Right.
feel
Right.
correct on whatever side I am, and that means that they
Right,
have to be
but
wrong.
take this feeling of I feel right about where I am. It's funny because it's such a paradoxical thing, because the only reason you feel you are anything is because you are opposite to the other thing.
Right.
You
Because something else
know,
exists.
what I think.
And
Yeah,
that now I can say,
yeah,
not me.
that
Yeah.
opposite thing that you are despising so much actually defines you. It defines who you are. So what are you really? If I mean, why would you hate and reject and repel the thing that actually defines who you are and where you are? So it's a very binary way in which we see reality, but the reality itself is actually beyond binary, because no one side can define itself without the other. So yeah, I mean, we see
The
and feel and
preface,
experience it like that, but it's like a dichotomy,
forward to
but
the
it
book
isn't.
of the forward to the book of Zohar. I told you we've been studying it. We just actually finished the article. I think we were on it for like 2 weeks with the Tuesday night Kabu class.
Hmm.
But Bala Sulam speaks about that the world of Atzilut is white light, and the worlds of Bia are,
Mhm.
like the letters are this black that's written on white light. So
Over on the
really,
white, yeah.
it's all about the white light. It's all about the light that you want, but
Yes.
you have no experience with the light until there's some black on it, some shapes that become vessels that you can decipher as a created being what's going on in the white light.
Yeah.
Right. Feeling gives you feeling,
So if
which is
everything
basically all
going
the
over
world.
there, you need to start hair and makeup a half an hour before the show starts.
I have an itch, and that ruins how the hair looks.
It's amazing. We've been watching all these recorded lessons and seeing. I mean, what was the one that we saw today for the daily lesson? We saw some recording that was there. What was that 10 years ago? No, it couldn't have been 10 years ago.
What we
Oh, I took a
saw
screenshot
today.
of you. There was a picture of young Asaf. Yeah, I took a
A young
screenshot
Asaf.
of
That's
it.
what I was. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Gershon
Even
was
though it
asking a
was,
question and you're in the back. Yeah, I got it.
it's not that long ago, but according to like growing up and changing, there's changes in all of us. It's so interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
it's
limited. We got limited time here. Better hurry up.
By the way, how's your health, Asaf? Speaking of Asaf,
much better now. Much better, but it was
seemed like you were a wreck
uncomfortable.
last week.
Was uncomfortable. Was very uncomfortable. I mean, look, there's problems and there's problems, right? I mean, like, all I had was sinusitis, but I never had sinusitis before, and this is the first time it happened to me. And I thought sinusitis is like, okay, so you have a lot of your stuffy nose and everything, and and the sinuses, the cavities in your skull are inflamed. Okay, but I didn't realize there's levels to this game, right? And apparently there's acute sinusitis, which is really, really painful, and that's the thing I had, and it was
You were
really
complaining about your
painful.
mouth even hurting, and you couldn't fall
So
Yeah, I'm
asleep.
trying to
basically,
find the message that Chris and
half
I
of
got
my
in the middle of the
face,
night.
half of my
Yeah.
face, like basically all the right side of my face was just it's like you have a tooth pain but in your entire face basically. That's the feeling. It's like can't
Sounds
fall
pleasant.
asleep type of pain. That's the thing. Yeah, and I
Harsh
didn't
pain.
I,
Okay, I found the message. Here we go. Hold on. Harsh pain on my face. I can't even sleep. I'm antibiotics and painkillers. The doctor said sinusitis, but it's hard to trust those doctors.
talk about the doctor experience, right? So okay, so basically I was really in pain. My wife's father had to drive me to the doctor, right? And the doctor, man, that doesn't make you feel any better, right? I mean, so I'm waiting outside the office, and
Sometimes
then
you
it's
prefer
like
the shaman.
so this is the thing. I waited for like 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, he comes out of his office. There was no patient inside. Okay, I don't judge. I don't know what maybe he had to like fill out some forms there. Okay, so maybe now he can see me, and I look really bad. I barely speak. It doesn't look good. You can see that I'm in pain. And I mumbled something like, "Can you see me now?" or something like that. And he turned around and like, can't you see that I see you? I already saw you. I'll call you when you know." And I'm like,
That's
oh,
nice.
okay,
That's
okay.
nice.
Now I don't even blame him because I mean that's the system. That's a result of this is the result of what the medical system looks like in our world, given the economic system and the what's the what are the motives and what are the incentives and what makes these doctors work and what is it was actually their work. He's just in a long line of a production line that produces this kind of behavior in doctors that are supposed to be like there to like heal you and take care
Yeah.
of you and help you and welcome you and so on. So I can't really blame him,
That's a
but it
fair
was
assessment.
a
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
Did he
experience.
fix you though?
Now, what did he give me? He gave me, the classic like antibiotics and painkillers,
Painkillers.
right? Painkillers and
Yeah.
antibiotics. Like antibiotics is
Did
basically
it work?
okay. What do you call work? Okay, so I had
Did you feel better?
from 100% pain, the painkillers and the drainage pills basically brought it to say 30% pain. So in that respect, I felt better, but it didn't actually fix anything because these all of these pills are symptomatic. They just help you not feel the problem. That they don't
listen,
solve
that's
the actual problem.
Take
in
that
in the
sometimes.
defense, painkillers yes, they are often used as like a no, the pain doesn't exist. But sometimes, like say after surgery or something, like that's nice. Like I got the I know what the problem is. I know what it was. I took care of the problem. It's just really uncomfortable afterwards. Hey, so we're not. That's binary thinking. You're entering into us off. That's not fair.
Okay,
Because
but
sometimes it is true that you can that they're helpful.
that's
Maybe just
that's
not the way
that's
that they're used.
true. That's true, and sometimes, yeah, and to some extent it helped, but it didn't really solve the problem, and the pain continued. And the moment I would not take the pill, like, or an hour later than I should have, that the pain comes back. It's like that was the situation. Anyway, so my wife spoke to this other friend who had sinusitis that would just like come back again and again and again. Antibiotics, it goes away for a few days, comes back again, goes away. And she said she found some acupuncturist who solved it for her. So, and I'm like, okay. I mean, and I'm not like I don't. Just as I have my issues with the Western medical system, I also am not a huge fan of the alternative system, because there's issues there as well. There's a lot of people who just put on a good show, but who knows exactly whether it's actually working what they do, and it's
Yeah.
so it's a problem. Being sick is
Yeah.
not
But
great in our
there's
world.
definitely a thing. There's definitely a thing in the East of looking at like the holistic body, though,
Right. So I
which
go
is
to the.
definitely so.
s-
So I'm
s-
not, hold on. So hold on. So in
mhm,
acupuncture, for example,
mhm.
there's no thing they're gonna like. It's funny because I do acupuncture sometimes, and I always say to her like, just get the needle to like fix the
You look
trauma,
like you
or
do
like give me the
acupuncture
needle to make the
sometimes.
headache go away, or like find, I'll pay you more if you got the headache needle, just like make the headache go away. But it's not. Even though it is totally holistic. I'm like, why are you sticking a needle in my toe? She's like, oh, I'm fixing your shoulder. It's like they're looking at a whole thing. So it's also, it's if you juxtapose it versus the East, the West. The East is so holistic, and the West is so specific, individual, like to one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
did
yeah,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
the acupuncture fix you?
So, first of all, this was a very opposite experience. Of course, you come to the acupuncturist, you also pay, pay well to that, but you get this personal kind of welcoming, attitude towards you. What is going on? How do you feel? Da, 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 da. And then, yeah, she basically. It looks like she did a good job. It's hard to say what fixed and so on, but yeah, she put a lot of needles in my face, mostly, also in my legs and in the ears, and all that. And yeah, within an hour after the treatment, I immediately I started feeling a very accelerated relief, and from like within a few hours since then, I feel much better. Um, but like you said, I mean, the attitude here is what's interesting. It's such an opposite mindset. It's really like East and West. It's like the Western medicine is like, okay, here is the problem. We're gonna go and get in there and
Cut it
fix it.
out. Get
Yeah,
in
or
there.
or
Yeah.
there's germs, there's bacteria. We're gonna basically create an atomic explosion with radiation in your body in the form of antibiotics, right? And just kill everything. you know and that's gonna also kill the bacteria that is causing your problem, and also ruin your not do well to your immune system on the way, and so forth. But it has its uses. And then you have that Eastern approach, let's say, which is like holistic. The body is a fractal type of system. You're in your ears and in your feet. There's like points that are triggering your organs and everything else in your body, and it's like everything is seen in this holistic way. And you need to be in a chill mode in order for healing to happen. And that there's a lot of awareness of that. When you go to the Western medicine, the doctor yells at you and gives you antibiotics. When you
But
go to. So I mean, it's really opposite. But yeah, but
but if you break your leg, and then you get some needles stuck in your face and your arms, Maybe not as helpful. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a little
right,
bit
right,
exaggerated.
right. No, no,
No, if you
of
break your
course.
leg, you need the Western medicine.
Yeah, we have a friend who now feels better gradually, but he had some huge issue now with pneumonia that became complicated, became some sort of an inflammation in the lungs, really, and he had to be in the ICU for a few days.
Scary
And
stuff.
I don't think the acupuncturists would have saved him.
Right, but
But
I also
Western
don't know
medicine
how well he was
did.
treated there
So
too.
right,
There should be a nice
but it seems
blend.
that it seems like there needs to be there's like a circumstance for this approach and a circumstance for that approach, and there needs to be some sort of a way to bring them together, I guess.
Look at look at how nature
Wait, I have
made,
another
in the
story. I
U.
got another quick
Okay.
story before we move away from the medicine thing, because it's a good area to explore this thing, right? Like, look at how uh, the way Western medicine works, and how the training works. And I'm familiar with Western medicine from the army as well, because I was a medic instructor, and I was leading teams of medical teams for wartime. So basically, I would have to train a team of like two doctors and a few medics, and how they would operate in a battlefield scenario. So I know something about Western medicine. Not a doctor, but I do know quite a bit of it from the army. So the way that doctors are trained, they become very, very specialized in what they do. And the problem with that is that you can easily forget that the human being is one holistic
Right.
thing,
It
and
becomes very
and everything.
compartmentalized. The
Exactly.
thinking.
And this is why, my mother-in-law, when she had a bad case of herpes, a really bad case that was really, really painful, she went to a doctor that sent her to another doctor, that sent her to another doctor. She went through like 4 or 5 different specialists, and some said, "Oh, you need, maybe it's a neurological thing," da, 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 until she came back to her family doctor, who was away when she started this whole thing, and she said, "Oh, you have herpes." And she gave her like the ointment or whatever, and everything went away. We were quickly. So so
What
all
was
of
the
this
factor there?
specialization, the what?
What was the factor there?
What do you mean by the factor?
Wow, why is the family doctor? Why is that? Why was that the rescuing
Oh,
the person who came to rescue?
no, she because when you start the whole process, you go to for family doctor first, then they give you a referral to a specialist. So when she started the process, it was a different family doctor, not her, that just sent her to a specialist. When she came back to the family doctor again for like some sort of a review, it was a different doctor, her usual doctor, and she went on to it. She understood what's happening. But what I'm
She
saying
just
is
didn't
like
have. She didn't know her. Or didn't have like a history with her.
the one who missed it, I guess.
No,
I
the
guess
one. Yeah, the one who missed it. Yeah.
the one, but it just goes to show that you can create a really, really intricate, specialized system, and it can miss the cause if you're not
Yeah.
looking at the whole thing. And on the other
Sure.
hand, if you look at the whole thing all the time, maybe this is insufficient. If you need to now fix a person, save someone's life by just stopping the bleeding inside his stomach or something, So this is kind of where we're at. Anyway, yeah, okay. Just wanted to
If you think about it, yeah,
to
it's making me think about how nature lays this out. Because everything that to people who are watching our show, everything that we're talking about is informed by the wisdom of Kabbalah. That's where all of our ideas come from. When we're jamming on things we see in the world, if you could see behind our eyes what's going on in our head, we're organizing everything we see at we're sitting in the doctor's office, and we're arranging it according to like the structure of reality. We're seeing everything through this lens. So we're having fun talking to you about it. When we're having
And
this
if you study
conversation, I
Kabbalah, it will
think,
happen to you as well. you,
yeah,
Right.
you'll begin to see reality that way. Yeah.
yeah, um, it's called the reforming light. That when you study the texts, you're impressing upon yourself all these different structures, spiritual structures. You're
Mm.
also getting an influence that's not clear to the mind, which is the light we just talked about. And then when you go out into the world, it's like if you saw Karate Kid, what, Mr. Miyagi, why am I waxing on, waxing off? But you do these things, you
Hmm.
create these forms inside of you, and then you go out into the world, and then the world exists in those upper structures inside of you, and things make sense.
That's actually
We're
a good
having
point that you bring that up, because one of the characteristics of getting some kind of like this influence right on you is that you have this approach of, let's say exactly kind of what we talked about. I go out into the world. I don't like something. I disagree with how the world is doing its thing or how people are treating me. I go out the world and I'm blaming, I'm looking to forcibly change something. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that approach of like, I need to cut this person that's bothering me out of my life, or I need to go fix this problem that forcibly, and I'm angry that it even occurs. That I deserve to have people need to serve me and make my life easier. All kinds of calculations that we make throughout the day, right? This guy cut me off, all this stuff. But there's something that changes within a person when they get this influence, whenever you enter the books and you're looking for something beyond the letters, right? That you're looking for, and you realize that you're the one, you inside yourself begin to change. And when you inside yourself begin to change, you see the world differently. That's a completely different approach too. That's a special quality. It's a special characteristic of being under this influence. Not that all of a sudden the world is changing and everything is moving, kind of like some, I don't know, Disney movie where now
Right.
everyone's in love.
And you still might have to respond to the person who's cutting you off, and maybe even go into an argument in life or something like that. And one level doesn't cancel out the other level. This is something very, very important from a Kabbalistic perspective, because a lot of people think about spiritual growth, spiritual development, or spiritual discipline as in, never be angry, never get mad,
as if you're
never.
going to be spiritual while you're as if your flesh is like acting spiritual, instead of understanding that the
Yeah.
spiritual reality is on a different dimension,
On a different
and
plane,
that the
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And if you so basically, so Kabbalah says if you have a problem in life, you have to deal with it on all levels. Deal with it in this world. You need to go to the doctor. Don't pray to God. Go to the doctor and fix your problem. You need to go to court to fight something, to get your rights back for about something. Do it. If someone is trying to attack you, you need to defend yourself and so forth. But there's also that doesn't cancel out a deeper level, and all of reality is like onion skin. It's like layers and layers and layers, and that's also there's a big debate in science today, for instance, between what you mentioned in the beginning, how like quantum physicists are finding that reality behaves very, very, very strange on the quantum level, right? The two things can be at the same in one thing can be in two different places at the same time, quantum entanglement, right? Or like the wave particle duality. Is it a wave? Is it a particle? It's both. What's going on? And that doesn't work with our Newtonian perception
Yeah.
of the world.
We got to pick one. We got to pick
Right,
one, and that's
we
the
gotta
one.
pick one. And Kabbalah says basically no. There's layers. This can be true on one level, and this can be true on another level, and together all of these layers make up our levels of perception of a single reality that exists. So we're actually experiencing ourselves on different layers. Or in other words, we're experiencing the same reality through different lenses. It's like when you shine light through through a red lens, you'll see red. When you change the lens to blue, you'll see blue, but it's always the same white light. And so it's not that the blue is wrong and the red is right, or the red is wrong and the blue is right. They're all right through that lens. It depends on how you're viewing reality. And so a Kabbalist doesn't try to, like, oh, spiritual, so that's like bestowal, love, that's it. So I just have to, kill off everything that is not love within me, and that would be spiritual. And that's not at all the Kabbalistic approach. In fact, you have to find love, how love covers all of the contrasts, all of the opposites, all of the flaws that you experience in reality. You have, love is like the outermost, the most inclusive, the most conclusive, the closest quality to the upper force, because it contains all of the different, seemingly opposing, seemingly contrasting, conflicting forces in it.
You need that. You need
yeah.
those black letters on the white paper.
Nice. Yeah.
Our generation has a
Yeah.
super uh, special and unique perspective in all of this that previous generations weren't able to tell, weren't able to see, weren't able to attain. At this point, we have all of these spiritual roots have touched down into this world already. And while in spirituality, two things can exist, two opposites have no problem existing in spirituality. In spirituality, we know everything is one, everything has its place. But in our world, where we have this extra dimension of time, everything happens sequentially in our world. Spirit, right?
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at how we in the West view time, it's past, present, and future, like on a timeline. On the East, it's more of a cycle. So when you look at so from our generation and the unique place that we are now, so I'm talking to Bonnie and Kirsten and Lawrence and Hayes and everybody who's here, Awareness and Dr. Winslow and Ray, hi Ray, Annie, everyone. The unique situation we find ourselves in now is where it's funny. They actually have this word called postmodern, where like after everything already happened. So you imagine humanity came out of Africa. This primitive creature came out of Africa, and then when they got to Babylon and Asia, they lived communally. Everything together as one. These ones hunted, these ones did this, but everyone lived communally. Already, Western Europe, you have the Renaissance, you have art, you have architecture. All of a sudden, as you start moving west, like it starts to splinter into individuality, more fashion,
Right.
more art, more different kind of music. And then you cross the Atlantic and you get to the United States, and everything becomes about the individual. And even more than that, when you carry over towards California, like the more west you go, you get even more individualistic,
Mm.
more and more. So nature like laid this out on a timeline, and that in the past you wouldn't have even been able to see nature paint this in front of your eyes. So on the east, you have communism. You have billion people, and it's not about what the individual wants. It's about what's good for the whole. Now, all the way on the West, we have this system where it's all about the individual.
Right.
And actually today we have almost like a war about which one. It was almost as if China was going to take over the world again with their worldview, but now the West seems to be ascending again in power, and it's very important for us to understand spiritually what this process is, because what is better? And it's interesting with the Kabbalists also. The Kabbalists are very much about the individual and his process, but the goal is that everyone would not. Can't even say that the goal would be communism because it'd be so misunderstood. But the goal would be that everybody is as like one man with one heart, right? so you're
You
well,
could
to
just say
make the
people
leap to
want feel that they're one body instead of trying to force them to be as one body. They grow up to understand that that's where they are. That's
so
different.
the process is nature. Well, let's before we make the jump to spirituality and really confuse everything, let's just see
You
what
you you
nature
got
placed
you got
before us.
you got my mind working on time though. This is what what I get excited about from when you started
Tell me tell
the
me.
last bit. Yeah, no, yeah, you want to go there, yeah. So
Go into it.
the
But keep try and put
okay,
on the backdrop of it that the East
the
is like
two
this communist
opposites,
and this cyclical, and the
right?
West is
Okay,
this
so
individual and linear.
So, like you said, I mean, I don't know. I don't know really if it's correct to call it a Western perception of time and an Eastern perception of time. I'm not sure, but there's definitely two opposite, seemingly opposite ways of looking at it. Yes, like you said, the let's say in the Western world we look at time as past, present, future, so we're connecting points, right? We're looking at every moment you grab hold of yourself, you can say this happened already, this didn't happen yet, and I am now in this place where I'm between what has happened and what will happen. But from another approach, an opposite approach, maybe call it an Eastern approach, I'm not sure that's accurate, but let's say there time is like a cycle. There's day and night, and there's the moon and the
Well, even look at
sun,
the
and there's
Western, the
up and
cross.
down, and
Hold on, I want to not
yeah, yeah,
tangent you,
yeah.
but just make a footnote for a second. And I know some of our viewers always say stop interrupting him, but the
I think they
cross
mean
is
me. Stop
super linear.
interrupting you.
I thought they meant me, but okay. The cross is super linear, right? You got a vertical line and a
Right,
horizontal line, and then China, you have the yin yang,
right,
which
like the
is the
yin and
circle,
yang. Yeah,
right?
No, but you
exactly.
also in China
And
you have like the year of the dragon, the year of the rabbit, and then it keeps going back around.
right. Anyways, the what my mind just went another place here. I'm sure. I hope this. Anyway, the bottom line is we feel time as fluid. We feel it as a smooth analog thing. That's our experience of it. We intellectualize it as past, present, future. We think about it like this is minute number 1, minute number 2, 60 minutes. Now it's the next hour. It's like it's frames, right? But think about the analogy of frames for a second. When you look at, you know how these flip book cartoon thingies work, where you draw a different image on
Yeah.
each page, and you flip it, and if you flip it fast enough, something along the lines of 24 frames per second, then the human brain interprets it as fluid motion, right? But it's actually frames, but it feels like fluid motion. We totally buy it as fluid motion, but we know that these are frames that can be separated. Now, when we talk about time, we feel it as a fluid motion. But, Kabbalistically speaking, if you break down the structure of reality, you understand time as like lines of code that are played on the will to receive, on the which is the this emotional substance of reality that we are. So, and if you play them at a certain pace, let's say, again, what's pace? That's hard to say, but basically the way we play these reshimot, we call it in Kabbalah, these lines of code that determine the different shape on the will to receive, those lines of code, they feel to us as the fluidity of time, but it's actually like frames. Now, all the frames already exist from the beginning of creation to the end of creation. This is something that the Eastern mind can better understand than the Western mind, because the Eastern mind thinks about a circle, like a flow, that a cycle of day and night, and heat and cold, and ebb and flow, and yin and yang, right? And so what it really is from a Kabbalistic perspective, it's our eternal relationship with the Creator, the created being, which is us, the creation, all of creation, the will to receive, and the Creator, which is the will to bestow. They are in constant reciprocal interaction of equivalence of form, and we feel it as and that creates all how everything in our universe works, right? The protons and electrons and the minus and the plus and the ebb and the flow and the contraction and expansion and how our muscles work and their breathing in and out, inhale and exhale. That creates everything. All of the galaxies, they always spin, we're always in this constant relationship with the Creator, but we interpret it as these like day night and so forth, and these frames, they feel to us like the fluidity of time, but ultimately each and every frame, each and every point in time is also connected to the last frame and the first frame, because all of time already exists in the thought of creation. So, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was gonna go this deep and this long.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We're talking about.
Keep going.
Finish.
No. It's never gonna finish.
It's never gonna end. It's in a circle. That's the whole point. The point is that in a circle,
Yeah.
a circle is eternal. Spirituality, the nature of spirituality is eternal, and we don't have any tools to touch.
Right. Talk about lines and
eternality.
circles. Exactly.
Yes. That's where I'm going.
Yes.
So we don't have any tool to touch anything that's eternal. What
Yeah.
are the tools? And this is very fundamental in the wisdom of Kabbalah, is that you have to use the tools that were given. You can't have some fake tools or make up some tools, because the reason why we were developed according to the structure of Yud Hey Vav Hey, the reason why we have 10 fingers and a mouth and eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, the
Right,
reason why we have
left eye, right eye, left nostril, right nostril, all this thing, one mouth in the
this
middle,
whole structure,
everything,
the whole biological machine that we digest eternity with, right? We're absorbing eternity tiny piece by tiny piece, little
Yes.
spark by little spark. And how? Everything is through a measurement. And what is a measurement? A measurement is linear. It's like this. It tastes how much sweeter, how much more bitter, how high was he, how short was he, how fat, how skinny, how long, how sweet, how loud, how mushy, how soft, how sharp.
Yeah.
Everything that we take in through this system that nature created is a linear measurement, but the goal is to reach through it eternality. Now, there's a missing piece here, because if you take a circle and you draw squares inside, well, what's the missing piece? The missing piece is you can never fill in the whole circle with just the line. So this
Right.
leaves another piece, which I don't know if we want to jump to that last piece yet, where that comes
We
from.
we
that
remember
actually
how
makes
Rav
the
Lightman,
binary.
our teacher, would show it to us visually on the drawing board, how he would draw like a circle and try to fill it in with like little discrete boxes, and showing that basically you can never do that. So there's like a leap between this linear perception and this circular perception that you can never
Be
you
cool
can
to do
never
it on a
get.
whiteboard. Can
You
you
can
do
never
it? Can you
get to
draw
the
a circle
circle
and then
from
make
the
a square
line.
and then?
Yeah, it would be too messy to
I
Let
think
me
a
try to
person can
explain it.
understand more or less.
Yeah, I think
You know.
I think
So
I
let's
get
just
it.
explain it. If you have a circle and you draw a box inside the circle, so you didn't fill in the whole circle. So now go to some of that space you didn't fill in yet and draw another box in there. Now there's still some space that didn't get filled in. So zoom in on there and draw a square. The
Yeah.
point is that as long as you're using lines, you'll never be able to
Well
fill
put.
in the circle. As long as you
Yes.
keep zooming in and zooming in, you can keep going, and you'll never get you'll
But
never actually
by the way,
keep.
look at how this beautifully correlates with the observer problem, the measurement problem in quantum mechanics, right? Like, because essentially quantum mechanics suggests that time could be circular or even reversible at the subatomic level. You don't need time to describe reality. The mathematics show that. But when you make and what you see is that the behavior, before you make a measurement, the behavior is of a wave. And when you make a measurement, it's a particle. It's a specific point within time and space. And so it's and when before that, it's a wave, meaning it's a wave of probabilities. It could be in various places and times. So it's really all around us. It's really interesting that when you look at again, this is a really quick and oversimplified explanation when we talk about science this way and so on. I'm sure the physicists would not appreciate that. But what's happening gradually in the evolution of humanity and the evolution of our science as well is that gradually it feels like it's building up around us more and more and more evidence, more and more findings, more and more pointers showing us that we are in a limited perception, which we call a linear perception, let's say, or a line type of perception, but reality is a whole, it's a circle, it is something beyond our measurement, beyond our experience. And all that we experience, time, space, motion, the very basic constructs of that we think are the constructs of our world, they're actually constructs of our perception. Reality itself is beyond these limitations. That's kind of all of the findings, all of the evidence is mounting towards that conclusion. I think that's what I feel is kind of happening.
And it's it's one thing to look at it in a way where, like, okay, yeah, there's a minus and a plus, and they have to work together to get to I don't know, to produce electricity, right? They need to be in the right balance to produce electricity. Or, looking at the Western medicine and Eastern medicine, and there need to be a balance between them. Like, it's very sharp. It's very, like it's this kind of tangible approach. Like, okay, I can understand how, there's kind of like this lack there, and there needs to be some kind of combination of them to be, but if you go to the needs of the human, where he feels he wants to be whole, he wants to feel whole, he wants to feel good. That's ultimately where this is leading, right? It's not just some search to put the universe correctly into focus through my eyes or whatever so I can understand what's going on. It's ultimately how do I feel better? I mean, anyone who comes to Kabbalah, that's what they're looking for. How do I feel good? And it kind of you kind of come at it from the back door, from like reverse, from the other side of it. You're not looking to put reality together correctly outside of you. You're trying to, or you're not trying, but ultimately this is what happened, is that you're looking for this inner completion where where you have contradictions. What is it whenever you make up with your wife or whatever, you have this distance, and then you've covered that distance, and then there's this sensation of
completion,
yeah,
like
there,
a
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's that's kind of like where that's this inner layer. It's like you talked about these many layers. Like, okay, he cut me off, and I'm still mad, but where is my inner thought about that whole thing? I can be my thoughts.
You need to feel that gap. You need to feel that contrast. You need to feel you needed to go through that experience of feeling that you're opposite to the other if you are to ultimately feel whole with everyone, whole with the other. That's what we learn from Kabbalah. And go ahead.
Yeah, when you first come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, there's an elation, but that elation is because you finally found like a map for life. Things finally make sense, and that's a wonderful period of time. Uh, and it's better than a kid getting ice cream or something. It's a sustained period of time where like the world makes sense, and you're just overjoyed to have found the treasure. after a while, when you get into work, the nature begins to work on you. The Kabbalists begin to work on you. The light begins to work on you. And this is goes to what Chris was saying, that if I want to become I want to become loving. So on the one hand, I can just pretend that all the bad stuff I see doesn't happen, or I can just just cover everything as if there's nothing bad in the world, that I'm just loving. I'm just simple. I'm just loving. But that's not how you were created, because if you search actually that system again that we discussed, that has the eyes, the ears, and the nose and the mouth, there's data constantly coming in there that tell you the opposite of that. That person doesn't deserve my love. Why did he do that? I did more. Or all of these other calculations. I need more for myself, which are against the love. And now we get to inside of ourselves that circular, eternal love, and all of those judgments, which is the line, which are not fully fulfilled. And then what we've been trying to get to, and what Chris just beautifully described, is that in myself, not that I'm trying to break some system outside of me or pick Western medicine
Mm-hmm.
over acupuncture or something like that, but inside of me, in some place that's not biological, in my inner discernments, I'm I'm somehow bringing these two opposites
Mm-hmm.
uh, together, and through that, then the world that I see literally changes. Like the world that a dog sees versus the world that a human sees, even though they both have eyes and ears and noses and mouths, but they perceive different worlds because their inner structure is different.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So you don't just become a human who looks like all the humans. Actually, there's a whole nother structure inside of you that's built by going through this process of bringing these two. The rest of the humans around you, all 8 billion, are looking at the world through this binary thinking. And if you construct inside of yourself this new system, you'll look like all the other people, but the world you see will be a totally different world.
Right. And that's what Kabbalah really calls human, Adam, right? Where you create out of yourself a form, an inner shape that is similar from the word domeh. That's where the word Adam comes from the word Adameh, Laelion, to resemble the upper degree, the upper layer, the creator of our degree. And that's the uniqueness and the true purpose of the human from a Kabbalistic perspective, to actually rise to that level where we don't just feel good or bad or bitter or sweet or truth and false. We feel all of these contrasts becoming one within us. And that's the nature of the upper force, the nature of true love, the nature of the creator, the nature of the quality of bestowal, doesn't matter how we call it. It is a force that is higher because it contains all of what we think of as opposites. It is the binding force, the glue, the adhesive, the connecting binding force that binds together all of reality, all of time, and all of space into one thought. And that's where we're going. Yeah.
Very happy to hear that, see that you're feeling better.
Oh yeah.
Wishing
Hmm.
health to all of our friends. All of our friends, go for a walk, give your loved ones a hug, think good thoughts. We're wishing everybody all good and success on the spiritual journey, our most important journey. We'll be back here next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And you have questions for us? You have topics you'd like to hear us talk about? Put that in the chat over there. We're always checking that. We send a big love and a big hug to everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.